please welcome to the stage Victory Institute President and CEO, Mayor Annise Parker, for the start of the 2021 International LGBTQ Leaders Conference.
Wow, it's really great to see everybody here, gathered together again. It's a very hot mic, Admiral. Great to see everybody here after 2 very, very long years. Some of you got here last night and were able to join our global equity, or global equality rather, reception. Some of you were able to attend our appointed officials reception. As you know, every night of conference, there's a lot going on outside of this hotel, so make sure you take advantage of the fun activities. And then, of course, some of you have been in an all-day meeting. Hopefully you had a little fun and got some good information for our elected officials only session. But wonderful to have everybody here today, and so excited to, again, launch our International LGBTQ Leaders Conference. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Welcome to the largest gathering of LGBTQ elected officials in the world every year. Thank you for joining us. I hope you find opportunities to learn from our speakers and experts and each other. And as I said to the elected officials earlier today, this is as much about the conversations that go on among you and as you get to know each other as it is about what happens on stage. But we really appreciate that you're in here for our plenaries and our workshops, and do pay attention to what's on stage. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. I want to give a huge thanks to our presenting sponsors. Obviously, we couldn't do an event like this without some great corporate underwriters. I want to thank Amazon, Comcast, Meta, whatever, Toyota. No, we really do appreciate. I have to go. It's going to make myself do that over and over again. But Amazon, Comcast, Meta. They had to make a note for me to make sure I said that. Toyota, and to all of our conference sponsors. They come to this event because this is the only place to reach the depth and the breadth of LGBTQ elected representation across America. And we appreciate them very much for what they do. We could not do this without them. I'm going to speak with you tomorrow about the state of LGBTQ representation and LGBTQ Victory Institute. But tonight, my responsibility is to introduce our plenary speaker. And I'm very thrilled that you're now going to hear from a history-making member of the Biden administration. Dr. Rachel Levine, now Admiral Rachel Levine, was the Pennsylvania Secretary of Health and a leading voice of calm and competence in the earliest moments of the pandemic. Her nationally recognized efforts were also noticed by President Joe Biden, who appointed her to be our nation's Assistant Secretary of Health this past January. And in March, Admiral Levine was confirmed by the U.S. Senate, becoming the first out trans person in U.S. history to be so. That is a really, really big deal for the U.S. Senate to do that. We're so proud she's able to join us today. Please welcome to the stage U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health, Admiral Rachel Levine.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for that wonderful reception and introduction. It is absolutely an honor to be here. So I do have to talk about some serious business, however, right at the beginning. And I have to talk about our top priority in terms of public health in the United States, and that is staying ahead of the COVID-19 virus and to protecting our community from this virus with safe, effective, and long-lasting vaccines, especially now in the context of a constantly changing virus and landscape. We are closely following the Omicron variant. We will continue to follow the science on a daily basis, and the science is what guides us and it guides our adjustments and our recommendations as this pandemic evolves. Vaccines remain the most powerful tool that we have against COVID-19. Now, I know that those attending in person today are vaccinated. For those individuals attending virtually who might not yet be vaccinated, please get vaccinated today. This includes children and adults. America is leading the world in vaccinating children ages 5 to 11. I'm a pediatrician in my initial training, as well as vaccinating adolescents for a number of months now. But we need more Americans in all age groups to get this life-saving protection. Now, if you've been vaccinated, the best way to strengthen your protection right now is to get the booster shot. As soon as you are eligible according to the CDC guidelines, please get your booster shot. Boosters are approved now for all adults over 18. 6 months past their vaccination for the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, 2 months afterwards for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's what I had, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's what I got boosted with. And they're available in 80,000 locations, coast to coast. The news about the new Omicron variant should make it clearer than ever why this pandemic will not end until we have as many people as possible fully vaccinated. So I invite you to join in supporting this most important message for our LGBTQI+ community and the communities that you serve and represent. So please get vaccinated, get boosted. Thanks. Thanks. More important than ever as we continue to see this evolving new situation with the Omicron variant. Now, I want to thank everyone participating in this conference for your unwavering efforts to serve, protect, engage, uplift, and celebrate our LGBTQI+ communities. This has been just so important in these uncertain times, and it remains essential to the health and well-being of our communities across the globe. I commend you and I thank you for your continued resiliency, your commitment, and your passion for helping LGBTQI+ individuals, because as we all know, representation matters. I understand that our community faces challenges every day. Believe me, I understand. But the future is looking brighter. I firmly believe that the future is looking brighter for our communities, brighter than ever, as we work to advocate and advance policies to ensure equity, diversity, and inclusion, and health equity for all, including LGBTQI+ persons. As 2021 comes to a close, it's a good time to evaluate how far we've come, look to where we're going, and reflect on the countless people who have helped us get to this point, many of whom in this room, both those known and those unknown, who have worked to advance the health and rights of LGBTQI+ people. You can clap now. It's been the last almost year an exciting time for the LGBTQI+ communities and individuals. I hope that my appointment symbolizes progress. I stand before you in this uniform as a 4-star admiral in the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps. In the challenging times of COVID-19, but I am dedicated to serving you and to serving this great nation. I am so honored to serve as the first female 4-star officer for the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps and the first openly transgender 4-star officer across any of the 8 uniformed services. I am so honored to serve in this role for the impact that I can make and for the historic nature of what it symbolizes. May this appointment be the first of many like it as we create a more inclusive future for all of us. I know that I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me, people we know throughout history, some of whom are in this room, and those whose names we may never know because they were forced to live and work in the shadows. But we have a president now who sees us and a president who advocates for us. This administration is working to advance equity for communities who have been long underserved by the federal government, and that includes my work at the Department of Health and Human Services. Secretary Becerra and HHS value the health of all of us in the United States, and we are committed to ensuring that LGBTQI+ individuals have access to quality health care throughout our nation. At HHS, we are working to advance the Biden administration's commitment to strengthening access to high-quality, affordable health care across our nation. We believe that our personnel, our programming, and our policies should all together promote the dignity and rights of LGBTQI+ people. The administration is working to advance equity for communities who have been underserved by the federal government, including the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, just yesterday, I joined President Biden and Secretary Becerra at the White House for World AIDS Day, where the new national HIV/AIDS strategy was released. The strategy is a call to action for all of us to end the HIV epidemic in the United States, to end the HIV epidemic in the United States. We need the support and participation from all sectors of our society. So this strategy is not just a federal strategy, it is a national strategy, and it has roles for all of us. The strategy provides focus for policies, programs, services, and collaborative activities to propel the nation towards our goal of ending the HIV epidemic by 2030. The strategy also envisions roles for people with or at risk for HIV, public health professionals, healthcare providers, people working at state, tribal, and local government, staff of faith and community-based organizations, educators, researchers, and people leading and working in the private industry, all of us working together. So to end the HIV epidemic, each of us has a role to play. That once unthinkable goal is within our reach if we work together. At HHS, we are eager to work with the White House, our federal colleagues, our partners in communities across the nation to implement this strategy, aligning and optimizing our work, again, to end the HIV epidemic. We know that there are many groups that face unique and increased risks. We must close disparities in access and outcomes, eliminate bias and discrimination, and address the systemic barriers, including the barrier of systemic racism, that have contributed to historic inequities. We know that fear of discrimination can lead individuals to forego care, which can have serious negative health consequences. It is the formal position of the Department of Health and Human Services, led by Secretary Becerra, that everyone should be able to access health care free from discrimination or interference, period. Our interpretation of Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act, that the statement that you cannot discriminate on the basis of sex, includes sexual orientation and gender identity, and that this will guide our department in processing complaints and conducting investigations. The steps we're taking at HHS to prevent discrimination against transgender Americans in healthcare settings is just one part of President Biden's executive order on preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. President Biden will continue to champion full equality and full civil rights protections for LGBTQI+ people to ensure that every American is treated with respect and dignity, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. Everyone deserves to reach their full potential and to access safe and respectful health care. Unfortunately, some have thought to prevent transgender youth from accessing the health care that they need. This is politics, and this politics has no place in health care and in public health, and they defy the established standards of care written by clinical experts. I am a pediatrician, as you know, and an adolescent medicine specialist. And LGBTQI+ adolescents are at risk. They are at risk of being bullied, of being harassed. They're at risk of thinking about dying from suicide, struggling with mental health issues and substance use disorders. School and family-based interventions can help reduce these behaviors and improve health in LGBTQI+ adolescents, and specifically for transgender adolescents. We need to continue to strongly advocate for the most vulnerable in our LGBTQI+ communities across the nation. This includes our LGBTQI+ youth, our seniors, our immigrants, and particularly LGBTQI+ individuals of color, such as trans individuals of color, who are at risk not of just harassment or of bullying, who are at risk of violence and murder. It was just last month that we observed the Transgender Day of Remembrance. The future for our community is brighter. The future of our community is brighter, but we have not made true progress unless we've made progress for all. COVID-19 has shown us that we are all interconnected. We are all in this together. We have to get past differences and prejudices that keep us apart. Despite the heavy toll that it has enacted, COVID has reminded us of a fundamental truth, that we need each other, that our happiness and our very survival depend on our connection to one another and to our community. That spirit of community is what makes our country great, and it is what we need now more than ever as we seek to bring the COVID-19 pandemic to an end. Now, I am a positive and optimistic person, and I believe that the future is looking like a brighter, more inclusive place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Admiral Levine. Now, please welcome Victory Institute Executive Director Ruben Gonzales to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. What an incredible honor to be joined by Admiral Levine today. She told me outside this is her first public speech that she's made, and what an incredible honor to have it be at the Victory Institute conference. I am so proud to now present Victory Institute's Congressional Ally Award, an annual award given to an allied member of Congress who is leading in the fight for LGBTQ equality. This year, I am honored to present the award to Representative Adam Schiff. Representative Schiff is one of the most outspoken voices for LGBTQ equality on Capitol Hill. He is a vice chair of the LGBTQ Equality Caucus and a co-sponsor of the Equality Act. Last year, Representative Schiff introduced a resolution calling for an end to the gay blood ban. He said, "This resolution calls for a repeal of discriminatory guidelines against members of the LGBTQ community and encourages them to be replaced with science-based criteria for individual risk assessment. It's long past time these changes were made, especially during the current global crisis." I think we can all agree that if we listen to scientists, doctors, and doctors who are now admirals about matters of health, that we would be in a much better place. This year, Representative Schiff also worked with the Victory Institute to create a memorial fund to honor his beloved staffer, Christopher Hoven, who passed away last year. Christopher was a proud outstaffer and created a space for other LGBTQ people on Capitol Hill. The Christopher Hoven Memorial Fund has raised more than $150,000 and allows the Victory Institute to bring incredible LGBTQ young people to Capitol Hill for an internship experience that we hope opens the door to them for a career and work in policy, advocacy, and as public leaders. We're actually joined by many of our current and former congressional interns in the room today. Please stand if you are a Victory congressional intern, either current or former. We are so proud to keep bringing incredible talent to Capitol Hill and to Washington, D.C. I think we all can agree that we need that. And this is just one of the many reasons that Victory Institute is thrilled to honor Adam Schiff with the Congressional Ally Award. Representative Schiff, unfortunately, is stuck on the Hill doing votes, doing the work of the people, but he is so thoughtful, he actually sent a video in advance that this might happen. He just let us know that he wasn't able to make it. We have a video from Congressman Adam Schiff that we'd like to play now.
Hello, this is Congressman Adam Schiff, proudly representing California's 28th Congressional District. It's an honor to address the 37th Annual LGBTQ Leaders Conference and to accept this year's Congressional Ally Award. We are at the end of what has been a critical year for the ongoing fight for equality. From Congress to the White House, leaders in Washington have dedicated themselves to swiftly repealing the previous administration's hateful actions against LGBTQ individuals and to reinforcing protections on civil liberties. Despite this progress, right now there are millions of LGBTQ individuals in the U.S. who face discrimination when they interview for a job, rent an apartment, apply for a loan, and so much more, because they live in states without any legal protections against discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. But now we have an opportunity to change that. After years of fighting for its passage, this February my colleagues and I were able to get the Equality Act passed in the House. This bill would amend the Civil Rights Act to include comprehensive federal non-discrimination protections for LGBTQ individuals, no matter where they live, who they love, or how they identify. Millions of Americans would be able to feel safer living their lives openly and authentically, and now the Senate must act to make it a reality. At the same time, the best way to ensure laws that protect everyone equally is to make certain that people can elect lawmakers who are representative of their communities and of America. This year's Congress has the most openly LGBTQ individuals in our nation's history, but we still have work to do to make the Congress representative of the country. I'm very proud that a new internship program named after my beloved former staff member, Christopher Hoven, will help do exactly that. We must also focus on the right to vote, the most sacred right of all. And today that right is under attack like never before, especially for communities that have been historically marginalized and discriminated against. We cannot let the progress we have made slip an inch. We must spare no effort to protect and strengthen voting rights so that every American can make their voice heard. And we cannot do any of these things without the support and partnership of incredible organizations like the LGBTQ Victory Institute. Not only is the Victory Institute on the front lines of these righteous fights, they are building a strong pipeline of tomorrow's leaders and public servants who will help our communities into a more just and equitable future. It's been a privilege to work closely with them and to support their programs, including, as I mentioned, their Congressional Internship Program. We are very proud to have one of their interns in our office right now. So I want to close by giving a special thank you to Mayor Parker and to the entire Victory Institute Board of Directors for your leadership. Thank you again for this tremendous honor and best wishes for a productive conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Adam Schiff. Please welcome our moderator, Cedric Lawson, and the panelists to the stage for the opening plenary, the Congressional Rainbow Wave in 2022.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everyone. We'll move quickly because we want to get you out of here by 5:30 p.m. So, my name is Cedric Lawson, and my pronouns are he, him, his. and I'm Field Director at the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights and the Leadership Conference Education Fund. The Leadership Conference is a coalition of over 200 national organizations that are working to protect, preserve, and promote civil and human rights and to build an America as good as its ideals. I'm a proud 2011 alum of the then called Gay and Lesbian Leadership Institute candidate and campaign training, and it was there that my love for this organization began. It has been a continued thrill to engage with outstanding candidates, organizers, and trainers since that time. And it's great to be with you here 10 years later. So with that said, these candidates who are to my right, they will join me as panelists for our opening plenary. With 2022 presenting an opportunity to increase the number of LGBTQ members of the House of Representatives, leaders who can pressure Congress to pass protections for LGBTQ people, including the Equality Act, we need to hear from these leaders, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to join them right now and provide the first question. And actually, that first question is going to be a statement from each of these individuals. So first and foremost, I want to introduce these individuals to you, their names, first and last, and title. Please wave when I mention your name. Commissioner Jasmine Beach Ferrara, she, her, Buncombe County Commission. Representative Daniel Hernandez, he, him, Arizona House of Representatives. Representative Michelle Rayner, Florida, she, her, Florida House of Representatives. And in addition to these outstanding elected officials, we have a candidate joining us, Sean Malloy, he, him, who currently is the senior advisor for the LGBTQ Victory Fund. So with that said, Commissioner Beach Ferrara, would you please share an opening statement with us, share a little bit about who you are. You're an elected official, you're a candidate. I'm sure you can give us a quick elevator pitch. You can make that quick.
Y'all mind if I stand up? There you go. I'm a minister. This feels a little more natural to me. Y'all are an absolutely beautiful sight. My name is Jasmine Beach Ferrara. I am an elected official. I'm a minister. I'm a mom. And I'm so honored to be running to flip North Carolina's 14th District blue. I want to give a shout out to the North Carolinians I know are in the House, and let us know if there's others. Allison Scott, Judge Arrowood, Matt Hughes, any other Tar Heels are here. We're so glad to be representing. There's a lot happening on the ground in North Carolina right now. I'll try to do this quickly. My district is represented by extremist Madison Cawthorn. Under the new maps, our district just became much more democratic and competitive. Cawthorn took a look at the maps. He took a look at the strong grassroots campaign we've been able to build because of incredible folks like y'all and Victory. And he decided he didn't like his odds anymore, so he has left the race to run in a different district where he feels like his odds are much better. I want to tell you how we are going to build the kind of grassroots movement that can flip this seat and turn it blue. A couple weeks ago, I was knocking doors in Macon and Clay counties. I walked up a dusty driveway. This is very red part of the western part of the state, and I knocked on a woman's door. She was a little surprised to see me, and she said, "No one has ever come from a campaign to ask me what I think about things." It turns out she had a ton to say about how desperately her family needs access to rural broadband. This is how we will win elections, by meeting voters where they are, listening carefully to what matters to them, and finding common ground around the values that bind us together. Once in a while, someone will say, "You know, I support you, but I'm not sure people are going to vote for someone like you." Maybe you've heard that in your life as well. I'm here to tell you that being an out candidate in the South is not a vulnerability. It is, in fact, our superpower.
Yes.
When you come out to a room full of strangers, you are from the get-go being as honest as it gets, and they may not know what they think, but they sure as heck know that you're being authentic. When you come out to a room full of strangers, you're telling them that you trust them. When I tell people about my wife and our children, Calvin, Lily, and Wyatt, I am sharing the most precious part of my life and trusting them with that information. When you come out to a room full of strangers, they can tell you are a fighter. So many of us have fought to survive. We have fought to be who we are, to love who we love, to create families, and to protect those families. And they see that and know that you're ready to fight for their families too. Authenticity, trust, linking arms to fight for what's right. This is how we win elections, and it's how we defeat extremism, which is an urgent project in North Carolina right now. I want to thank you so much for Victory's tremendous support, and so honored to share this stage with my friends up here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sticking to 3 minutes. We love to see it. Now for our second panelist, Representative Hernandez. 3 minutes.
3 minutes. That's
right.
it? Do I get a gong? Mayor Parker is ready with a timer for me. It is so good to be back. I have been involved with Victory now a decade as well. It's funny because Cedric, myself, and Sean were all in the same class in Pittsburgh, along with Brian Sims, who's running for lieutenant governor in Pennsylvania. And I think we had the best class ever. But it's been such an incredible journey for the last 10 years being a part of the Victory Institute and the Victory Fund family. I am Daniel Hernandez. I am a state representative in Arizona. I'm a proud Arizonan. I'm a proud openly LGBTQ person. I'm also very, very excited to now, 10 years after the incident that gave me a lot of attention, which was the shooting where I provided first aid to Congresswoman Giffords, to be in a position to run for her old seat and to have a credible chance of winning. Not just because I am the person that did that, but because over the last 10 years I've been able to prove, because of the support and because of the training that I've received from the Victory Fund, that the LGBTQ community does incredible work when we're in elected office. Because we don't just show up and say, I'm gay. My emails say that, and if you've seen them, you've gotten one of those at least. But we come in, we show up, and we listen, we work hard, and we deliver results. And I think that is what is so important about this organization and the work that we do. We don't just support people because they are LGBTQ. We support qualified people that are LGBTQ. And the way that we do that is we build our own. Because far too often we hear from folks, can someone like you get elected? Like Jasmine said, I've gotten that question every time I've ever run for office. From when I was 21 and I ran for school board to when I was the youngest member of the legislature when I got elected at 26. There is always somebody that says, are you the right kind of person? Can you win this seat? And it happens all the time. So in order to beat that, we need to make sure that we are growing our own, building that bench, but doing that by creating opportunities for people to grow through the college internship programs that Victory has, to the trainings for candidates. There are so many wonderful things that we are doing together. And I'm just so excited to be back because right now we're at a crucial moment in time. As we head into 2022, we know now more than ever, our lives, our rights, and everything that we have worked so hard for over the last couple of decades is on the line. As we saw yesterday in the Supreme Court, things that we took for granted, that we had counted on for decades, could be gone in a matter of minutes. So that's why it's so important that not only do we work to make sure that we elect people like me and these 3 other folks on stage, but that we are making sure we are holding people's feet to the fire when they're in office to make sure that they're standing up for the LGBTQ community. So I'm excited, I'm honored, and I'm just thrilled that they have not called a timer on me yet. So I'm going to hand it back to Cedric.
Thank you much. Thank you, Representative Hernandez. And now to Representative Rayner, 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. I believe in call and response. Hello, everyone. Well, it's so wonderful to be here. I'm so honored to be sharing the stage with these amazing people. And do I see Mayor Gillum out there? Hi, friend. I have to shout out Florida everywhere I go. I think Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith may be somewhere in here, and Brandon Wolf, like Florida's in the house, and Senator Jones. So I always have to shout out my home state. I am a native Floridian. Yes, I know. Thank you. Thank you. I know we have Ron DeSantis, but don't worry about it. My name is Michelle Rayner Goolsby. I am from Pinellas County and married to the wonderful Bianca Goolsby, who some of you have been able to meet. I currently serve in the Florida State Legislature. I was the first out Black queer woman to ever hold public office in the state of Florida. And I am currently running for Congress, and when I'm elected, I will be the first out Black queer woman to ever serve in Congress. Thank you. And you know, my history is one, I started my career as an assistant public defender. I'm currently a civil rights attorney. I work with our dear brother, Benjamin Crump, and really being on the front lines. And really, to me, my race and what I'm doing is, I know a lot of people talk about Trump and the things that we're afraid of, but much like my dear brother who's in the room, Mayor Gillum, I believe in giving folks something to vote for, something to believe in. Because when people are invested in being able to believe in your message, and not just believe in your message, but know that you're going to do what you say that you're going to do, that is what excites folks. And what I'm really excited about is when I talk to people, you know, whether they're Republicans or Democrat, gay, straight, however they identify, they're concerned about their families. They're concerned about their clean water. They're concerned about making sure that they have a living wage. And when we begin to meet people where they're at, that is what's been resonating. And so I'm running for an open seat, Charlie Crist's seat that he's vacating to run for governor. I am running against two straight, cishet straight white men. Folks told me, you need to wait your turn, you need to sit down, you know, someone like you's not gonna win. I was like, well, you know, I love a challenge, so. And what I'm seeing is that we have a broad, cross-section of support. And even when I got elected the first time, I was nervous because I was, getting elected in a primarily African-American district that tends to lean a little bit more, moderate. But what people wanted to know, they wanted to know about their children. They wanted to know about their jobs. And they said, Ms. Rayner, I saw you when you were fighting for this Black man's life when no one cared about it. So I know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And so my thing is that the way we show up, the way that we show up at the intersections of our identities, much to Jasmine's point, the things that we've had to fight for, people know that if we're willing to fight for ourselves, that we will fight for them. And so that's why I'm running. I'm very excited, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Representative Rayner. And now to Candidate Malloy, 3 minutes.
Candidate Malloy. Some of you may have talked to me before. I'm Sean Malloy. I am the outgoing former vice president of political programs at LGBTQ Victory Fund, where I oversaw the endorsements of many of you in this very room. But I've now been inspired by so many of you to go and effectuate Victory's mission myself. I've been in this race a whole 3 weeks. I'm running for the 17th Congressional District in Pennsylvania. That is Connor Lamb's congressional seat. He is running for Senate. It is a swing seat, actually like every single one of these seats. This is a swing seat. And if there's anything that I've learned at Victory, it's that queer people do a really good job of winning in swing areas, right? We already have a bunch of congresspeople who have done that. And they've continually kept their seats in tough years. And I think we're all going to be doing that. And one of the other things that I realized from seeing all of you step up and run is that you're disruptors, right? You all have gone into office and you focus on the issues that your community needs to address, right? To go be that representative. But because you are who you are, you're a natural disruptor. And I think we are all in agreement, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, our system is broken. Our system in DC is very broken, whether it's because we can't pass a legislative agenda that was agreed upon by a large amount of people in this country because we're quibbling amongst ourselves, or it's because the system that is there benefits people unlike us. Because we're not in the room. We're not millionaires. We're not working. I mean, we all are those things, but working class people are not in Congress. And so I just want to thank all of you for being so inspirational along the way. This is new. I'm excited, but you all have given me the knowledge that this can be done. We can win in a swing district, in a swing state, and we can help make sure that that system gets fixed, slowly but surely, voice by voice. So thank you, excited to be here.
Thank you, candidates. So I am going to ask the first question, and I'll ask Representative Hernandez to start us off, and I will mosey my way on over to that seat. Here's the first question. We are at a pivotal moment in representational politics. There are many firsts that are happening every day. There are naysayers, however, who roll their eyes when you say that you may be the first LGBTQ, the first African American, first Latino, first woman of your respective position. What do you say to those people who feel that being the first doesn't matter anymore? What do you say to make it clear that representation still matters? Representative.
Thank you, Cedric. So I am oftentimes reminded when I'm at Victory Fund events about the first event that I ever went to for Victory. It was a Houston brunch where Mayor Annise Parker, Chris Quinn, the then Speaker of the New York City Council, and Congressman David Cicilline were all the guest speakers. And at 21, it was the first time I was in a room where I saw LGBTQ people in a position where they mattered, where their voices were heard. So for me, I remember going and growing up in South Tucson and not having any examples of people that looked like me, whether they were Latino or LGBTQ, in positions of power. So for many folks, okay, we've had this, we have marriage, what else do you need? Well, there's a lot yet left to be done, whether it's protecting all Americans, because it's not just about protecting trans people or LGBTQ people, it's protecting everyone to ensure that we have the same rights and responsibilities. But when we're looking at representation, right now in Congress, there are only 9 openly LGBTQ members of the House out of 435. I want to be the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th. But when we're looking at representation, there's only been one openly gay Latino member of Congress, and that is Congressman Richie Torres, who I am so proud to have as a supporter and someone who I look up to and admire, because it's important not just to be the first, it's important that you are not the last. And I think that's the biggest thing that so many of the people in this room understand, that for those of us that have had to break glass ceilings and through doors and tried to get through, it's not enough to just be in office and to be someone who shares an identity. You have to do a good job, because when you are the first, you are under a microscope. You are expected to do 10 times better. You have to do backwards dancing and high heels and then do a backflip in order to just show people that you're able to do your job. So it's so important, because for the little boys and the little girls and everyone else who's looking for inspiration, they need people like us to be in these positions, because it is not okay that at 21, I had never seen an LGBTQ person be in a position of leadership until I showed up to Victory. So we want to make sure that that doesn't keep happening. And until we have members of Congress that are proportional to the amount of LGBTQ people, I don't believe this whole nonsense of, well, do you really need another gay member? Do you really need another lesbian? Yes, because for so many of us, we don't see ourselves in these positions. And if you don't see yourselves in these positions, you don't strive. You don't believe that this is possible. So it's so vital that we have these folks running and winning and then doing a good job. Because like I said at the very beginning, we don't just win because we're gay. We win because we're good at what we do, because we listen and we work hard. And we build those coalitions.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative Hernandez. Other panelists, would you like to speak to that question?
I think, what I've seen at Victory is that no one here decided to step up and run for office to make history, right? You stepped up because you want to make a difference in your community. You saw a problem. You want to go fix it. You want to be part of the solution. And I think that that's what everyone who's running for office should be doing. We know that's not true, sadly, and that's just another reason why we need to elect more people like us. We just crossed the threshold of 1,000 out people in the entire United States, which is awesome. Yeah, clap. Yeah, that's great. It's taken, how old is the United States? It's taken that long to get to 1,000 over 330 million people, right? The numbers, 0.1% of all elected officials. We need to do over 22,000 to get to 6%, right, across the board. Generation Z is 12 to 15% identifying as LGBTQ+. We have a long, long way to go. And I think that we really are the antidote, right? Mayor Parker says this, the antidote to a lot of the problems, because we are those disruptors, those problem solvers. I also just want to say, we've also heard like we're in a post-gay society in some places, right? I know we have some friends from Washington here. I heard this for the first time in Seattle, right? And I just looked at them and I said, what? Have you left Seattle ever? Come to Western Pennsylvania, right? And so, there might be some pockets where people are beyond, identities being meaningful. But I think we're all from places where having a voice, having someone to look up to, having a candidate step forward and even just talk about our issues from their own identity's perspective is extremely important. And so, we have a long way to go.
Absolutely, thank you. So moving on to another question, we've heard a reoccurring theme from the opening plenary speaker, the Admiral, and also some of your opening statements, the importance of mentors or people who have come before you or people whom you look up to, whom you admire. We heard from Representative Hernandez in terms of Representative Torres, Commissioner. Who's someone that you admire or who's someone that has been a mentor to you as you've been an elected official and now as you're moving into this new spot as a congressional candidate?
Some people in the room may know the name Joe Herzenberg. He served as an out elected in North Carolina while I was a queer kid growing up in North Carolina. And rest in peace and power, Joe. He's someone I think about a lot in this journey and the barriers he broke. I'm going to say one other name, Pauli Murray, who I didn't know, but who's, everything about what Pauli Murray did in their life across sectors is just such a model of public leadership and service. And then I've had the great honor of organizing for LGBTQ issues across the South for the past 10 years, including with several folks in this room. And the folks I think of also are folks in Petal, Mississippi, and Morristown, Tennessee, and Bakersville, North Carolina, who live perhaps, a day-to-day life in which they have found a way to be out in small communities where that is a brave and daily act of courage. And they certainly give me a lot of hope and energy and motivation in those moments when it may otherwise be waning.
So I'm going to say a name that I'm sure many of you may know, but Nadine Smith. Yes, go ahead and give it up. Yes, she is just a complete badass and a fearless Black lesbian woman, unapologetic. And so when I ran the first time, she was all in. She's actually one of my constituents, her and her wife and her son. And just watching her as she navigates, building Equality Florida, also navigating our own internal stuff that we have as LGBTQ folks when it comes to race and when it comes to gender, and our own stuff that I don't know if I want to name, but y'all should know what it is. And being that as a proud Black lesbian woman, and she's also a sounding board for me. A lot of times when I really want to go 0 to 100, she's like, maybe we don't need to go to 0 to 100. Maybe you need to be at 10, and not 100. And and she's going to always, give it to me straight. And so I have, really come to value her counsel. Also, I'm going to mention, and they will probably feel somewhat way, but I'm going to say their names, David Johns and also Mayor Gillum. They have been dear friends and supporters of myself and of so many Black LGBTQ electeds, places that we know where if I tell them something, it's not going anywhere, because we also need that space, and that they also understand the intersectionalities of how we show up. And so, those are a few of the people that are, very dear to me that I look to when I'm kind of, stuck a little bit.
Thank you for sharing, and it's so important for us to, as you know, Rep. Rain, I'm sure you've heard this phrase before, give folks their flowers while they're still here. So it's so important that we take this time to honor and give flowers to folks who are still with us, and of course to honor those who have left us at this point. Moving on to another question. We all know how LGBT people, even candidates, can be stereotyped. There are assumptions of whom we will work well with and those whom may not be on our side. Who are constituencies that you've worked with that may surprise us or even have surprised you in the past? Looks like you want to start.
So I actually last session passed a bill with the future Speaker of the House. Spoiler alert, the future Speaker of the House is not a Democrat. And in fact, he is a very, very, very conservative Republican man. And for whatever reason, we agreed on an issue of workforce. And we stood together on the House floor. He said it was like the lion being with the lamb. He was the lamb. That's fine. And that's fine. Yeah, so
we love to see it.
Yeah, and so we passed a bill together, and that bill ended up getting signed by our governor, and it's been able to have an immediate impact throughout the state of Florida to provide folks an apprenticeship ability to get in the medical field. And so for me, I did not like a lot of his politics. I had very heated discussions with him. There were times, especially when we were debating the anti-trans kids sports bill, that I was like, you can't talk to me right now. But we were able to come together on that. And I think that, people want to pigeonhole us and say, well, if you're LGBTQ, you're automatically this, that, and the third. And I'm like, but no, we're not a monolith. I have a brain. I'm a thinking person. I care about the people that I serve. And however I'm able to get that done, and if I have to walk across the aisle and me be the lion and have the lamb lay down, we're going to do that because we need to get things done. So I think that's one of the things, people are very shocked, and we have a very good relationship. I think his daughter wants to intern with me, so he's a little concerned about that, but
Representative Hernandez, it looks like you want to take the mic.
When people see me, they stereotype me for a lot of reasons. I literally wear it on my sleeve. On the flight here, I wore a brand new Star Trek Pride sweater. I wear my little watch band. Yes, live long and prosper. So I'm a gay nerd. I'm not going to get away from it. I love Drag Race. I have seen over 100 of the RuPaul's Drag Race girls live. So I am very, very gay. But I'm also...
Well, Shantae, you stay.
Thank you. I'm the winner of this week's challenge. But at my core, I'm a coalition builder. As a young gay Latino who got elected at 26 to the state house and at 21 to the school board, I don't come in with power. I have to build it. And the way that I've done that is by building relationships, not just with Democrats, but with everyone from every shape and color. On the school board, my number one ally was a libertarian. In the legislature, my strongest allies for the first 4 years that I was there were two moderate Republican women who worked with me to make sure that LGBTQ issues were not seen as partisan. They worked with me and they actually co-sponsored my legislation on non-discrimination in housing, employment, and also in public accommodations. So my goal is always to build power, and what that has meant for me is showing up where I'm not expected. Every year, there's an annual dove hunt in Yuma on the border. And every year, all 90 legislators get invited. And I love to go for two reasons. One, I'm a better shot than most of the city guys who say that they love guns. And two, I get to build meaningful relationships with my Republican colleagues because they're always shocked when there's 2 or 3 of us. I saw my colleague, Representative Chavez. When I say 2 or 3 out of 90, I'm not kidding. 2 Democrats will show up. It's me, my sister, and then Cesad, who will come, and we spend time with our colleagues. So then when we're trying to talk about the trans athlete bill, which we successfully have killed 2 years in a row in Arizona, it's not because the RuPaul Drag Race loving Star Trek fan told them this is a bad idea. It's because it's the person who woke up at 3 a.m, drove down to Yuma, spent time with their friends, knows their wives, knows their kids, said, this is wrong. This is going to hurt kids. Above all, this is going to hurt our state. Let's not do this. Let's not go down this road together. So for me, it is so important that we realize that as LGBTQ people, we always have to build coalitions. And that's why we're so successful when we're running in these tough races, because we've had to prove ourselves so often that when we come in, people have preconceived notions. And then I'll wrap up because I'm getting the Cedric eyes. When I first started in the House, and I was 26, there were 3 other openly gay members of the legislature. But in the lounge in my first week, one of my colleagues muttered under his breath, "There comes the F word." And then the next week, I had to sit down with him and work on an amendment on a bill. And it was really painful that one of my colleagues would refer to me that way. But then I remember that I wasn't there for myself, that I was there to educate. And now he's still probably going to call me that a couple more times, especially if I win. But it's important because I was able to remember that the reason I was there was to represent the 200,000 people that I was elected to serve. So I had to put my feelings aside and make sure that I focused on what was the result, what was the work that we needed to do. And I think that's what we are so good at as elected officials and as candidates, that we let all the petty stuff just kind of go by us because we have great support systems because of the networks we've built through Victory. So I'm just really excited about continuing to grow that network and continuing to come year after year and get to meet so many more of you running all over the country.
I too am a walking stereotype and very, very gay. Although I will say that one of the funnier emails that we've gotten during this campaign was someone who wrote in and said, pretty much in all caps, "There is no way you're going to win this race if you continue to dress like Barbie." So there's, which I don't. So there's, always surprising moments like that. What comes to mind first is a story that kind of echoes what I hear you all saying is that work I've gotten to do with a Republican colleague on County Commission in developing and launching an early childhood education fund at the local level that has been able to infuse really significant support into expanding early childhood education in a way that's driven by equity. What brought us to the table around that work, his name is Robert Presley. He's a retired NASCAR driver and a local legend in North Carolina. What brought us to the table was maybe a set of priorities and values, and we talk about the issue in very different ways. But I think both of us and many others, and what I hear you all saying is this orientation that we need to stay open to the many different reasons someone may show up at the table around an issue, and that once we get to the table, that readiness to kind of roll up our sleeves and work on policy solutions. Some of the most rewarding work I've gotten to do has been with folks on the other side of the aisle, and that's certainly the example I think of first. I want to make sure, Sean, that there's time for you on this as well.
I just want to say, there's an old Vulcan proverb. Only Nixon could go to China. Only Nixon could go to China, right? And so the idea that we, who are stereotyped as like hyper-liberal, partisan, whatever, right, which is not true, right, that this room is representative of that, right, because we want to solve problems, right, we will sit down with anyone. And I actually think there's also some novelty on the side of people who may not agree with us, not only in policy, but maybe our actual lives and our identities. I think there's some novelty on their part, right, to say, oh, guess who I worked with? Like, when they go and talk to a room of their peers, right, they're actually saying, can you believe I was able to do that, right? And so I think we should take advantage of that to the degree we can and make sure that we continue to be the problem solvers that we are.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing is that not only are we working with unlikely allies, we are the unlikely ally. Yeah. We're not just the surprise constituency.
Exactly.
We're working with surprising constituencies. So Representative Hernandez, you touched upon this a little bit in terms of how you confront or deal with anti-LGBT individuals and constituencies. I'm thinking about the day-to-day, the epithets that, come your way, what you see on social media. How do you all deal with that?
A really good group of friends. I think the biggest lesson that I first had when I started getting involved in politics was surround yourself with better people than yourself. And it's something that has been so true. So in the legislature, I'm very honored to serve with Representative Cesar Chavez, who's here, Representative Robert Meza. And these two gentlemen and I co-started the LGBTQ caucus, because what we realized is, while there were 4 of us, we oftentimes were siloed and we were on our own. So we needed to create our community where we could support each other and make sure that we were becoming a voice where it wasn't just, the gays are voting together, which we heard a couple times from members in our own caucus, but it was we were being asked as a group what our thoughts were on policy, how we could impact the things that were going on. But it really started because we had a drink and we were all at a gay bar and we said, wow, look at the power that the four of us have when we're together and when we're combined. Let's do something to formalize this. So surrounding yourself with people is really important. Right after the shooting, I had the opportunity to sit down with Secretary Clinton, and I had a wonderful opportunity. It was like an hour-long master class on being in public life. And the biggest lesson that she taught me is never take yourself too seriously, never let them put you in a box, and don't let it get under your skin. Take all of the feedback and take the good stuff and do what you can with it, but everything else, just let it slide off you. Because if you internalize it, you'll never be able to get out of bed in the morning. And that is so true. Because every morning when I look at my followers and look at my tweets, because I went from 9,000 to 29,000 when I started running for Congress, every morning, the amount of vitriol and hatred from these Twitter trolls, if I just sit there and read every little comment, I'd never get out of bed in the morning. But then I have real friends who are willing to travel and do whatever they need to be able to help me. And I think that's the thing. Surround yourself with amazing people, because when you surround yourself with those amazing people, it doesn't matter what you're hearing from the Twitter trolls or your own colleagues in elected office, because you're reminded that there are good people who are there to do good work, not just be there to send out nasty tweets.
Absolutely. Panelists, other thoughts?
Well, I know when I ran the first time, one of my Democratic opponents, he actually would go to different folks, specifically pastors, and was like, y'all shouldn't support her. She's a fat black lesbian. And so me, being who I am, I was like, you're absolutely right, I am. So I was like, let's get into it. And so, I use that as an example because much to Daniel's point, there have been more difficult battles than people name calling me. And I have a deep-seated understanding that what I do, how I present to the world, how my wife and I present to the world is less about me and less about our feelings and more about folks who are coming behind us and more about building this bench and more about making the road easier. And so, we have self-care. We talk to each other, we journal, we have good friends, and we do the things that we need to do to make sure that we are taken care of internally, whether, and I believe in therapy. So all of those things, I have a place to do that. But so when I come to the outside world and I get things like that, while I'm running, or even from colleagues or all of those things, it bounces off of me. Yes, I'm human. I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel great. But I also am able to put that where it needs to be and not actually allow it to get deep inside of me and for me to internalize that and then begin to act in that way. And so, like I said, for me, it really is about, I know the work that I'm doing is for that young black queer girl saying, I see myself. And when I hire team members, I have team members who come, I wanted to work for you because I've never saw myself ever in this political process. And so for me, that is the reward. So all the other foolishness and the stuff that people do, they're going to do what they're going to, regardless of how I show up or how we show up, they're going to say what they're going to say. I'm going to continue to do the work. I'm going to continue to make sure that our people and our community are protected and they're safe.
And on a very practical level, I don't read comments, which I would highly recommend as a good strategy. But another piece is, is just sort of holding it lightly, holding every part of it lightly. And I think staying really grounded in that sense of the work we are all doing as a community and a movement together. For every time someone has come up and said something ugly or hurtful, there has been a time when someone has come up and said, my kid came out to me last week and I don't know what to do. And, you know, I think everyone in this room has probably had that experience more times than any of us can count. And that's part of the power of, you know, circling back to that first question, why do firsts matter? There are so many communities in our country where there hasn't been the first yet. You know, and you just sit with that for a second and you think about the power of what that means, and that that kid hasn't gotten to see that happen yet in their hometown. You know, so to me, that's just the piece that is really grounding and motivating, and it makes the chatter just seem like very distant chatter, honestly. And the connections formed in places like this, you know, where there's someone you can text or call, or someone who you know is out there who's walking the same journey you are, and it just it feeds the soul and spirit in those moments when you need them filled up.
I mean, I think that the authenticity that we all bring, everyone here brings to their office, goes way beyond anything bad that someone might tweet at you or whatever. I agree, don't read the comments. I haven't. My wonderful partner, Ethan, right, he's on Reddit. If there's anything that's good, he will show me, right? But people are looking past the hate, right? I mean, like, that's the thing. One person can stand out very quickly on a Twitter feed, but that one person isn't who you're going to be talking to, isn't the voter, isn't the citizen that needs you to go be a good elected official. And I think we just need to think about the big picture and continue to be the authentic leaders that we are, because I think people value that. I think we don't have enough of that. You know, I'm excited to now try to be that.
Thank you, panelists. So we're moving into our last question, and if you check the time, you'll see that we have a little bit of time for questions from our plenary audience here. Thinking through process, if you have a question that you'd like to ask, please join us by stepping over by that stair step. Please stop at the stair step once you approach. And for those who may not want to join up here to ask their question at that mic, please raise your hand, and I'm more than happy to come to you so that you can ask your question. So keep that in mind as I ask this last question, a lightning round, a round-robin style question. We'll start with the commissioner. What would be the number one piece of advice that you'd give to individuals who'd like to run for office in one sentence?
Do it.
Trying to be appropriate.
Is that part of your sentence?
No, don't do that. You took mine, friend. I'll co-sign, so I'll say, do it anyway.
I will build from that and say, assess, make a plan, and do it.
Why are you still waiting?
Fabulous. Thank you, panelists. And if you have a question, please come on up and approach that mic to ask your question.
Of course, Sheena comes up first.
Obviously. Thank you for the advice that you would give for folks thinking about running. When you all were thinking about running, I'm sure you got so much advice from so many people. What is the one thing that nobody warned you about that you wish they did?
Representative Rayner, looks like you're thinking about something.
No, Sheena asked me this earlier. I said the massive amount of call time. It's just,
Don't scare them away from running.
I mean, we have to be honest.
That's a secret. They have to find out after they're in.
Yeah, no, but besides the massive amount of call time, I would say the thing is, in currently being in the Florida legislature, which is a supermajority of Republicans, that it can be very violent as you show up. And so you have to have those self-care mechanisms. And they didn't tell me, everyone's like, run, be a representative, and it'll be great, they said. It's all right. So, but especially in Florida, God, pray for us, light a candle. And so, So please. And so I think for me, just being aware of like what it really is, like not having the rose-colored glasses of this is amazing and wonderful. There's a lot of days, especially being the minority, it's not amazing and wonderful. And what are the self-care mechanisms you have in place in order to be able to power through and to continue?
Thank you.
Sorry, really quickly. There will be more bad days than good, but the good days always outweigh the bad. And I think that's one of the things where it's really easy to get bogged down in all of the like minutia of you're learning about things like the values of polished cement versus carpets in a school district. But it's the important work that we get to do that really makes it fulfilling. So yes, there's going to be tedium. Yes, there's going to be obnoxious things happening when you're in the minority. But there are so many opportunities to do good.
Thank you. Next question. Please join us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miguel Fuentes. I'm representing Jack Mexico. It's an LGBT organization back there in Mexico. I'm very interested in knowing which ways can legislators collaborate with civil society organizations to push forward the LGBT agenda, especially both local and federal levels. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I think, Victory Institute does amazing programming in the international space, but I think that as elected officials, right, we need to do a really good job of assessing the state of our LGBTQ communities. I think a lot of us, have some communities that could be snake pits. And then you also have to really assess to make sure that groups are doing and maximizing all their potential, right? That they're actually working together to the degree that they can, right? I won't name names, but there are places where there are not efficiencies, and it's because of personalities. I think we're all in a position to help those connections be made and see what's missing. And so if there is a group that is missing, who can help make that happen? Or is there a group that has led similarly in an international space, in a different part of the country, in a different way for a marginalized community? And putting those pieces together and being able to connect them, I think that's a natural place for us all to be.
Thank you. Next question. Please join us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carolyn Weisinger. I'm the elected assembly delegate of 8015 in California. Yeah. And my question, and I know we're going to talk a lot about this here in the conference about how to empower non-binary and trans candidates, but I want to ask it specifically to Representative Rayner and anyone else who wants to answer it. I ran for campaign last year in 2020, and I really want to get more black trans men involved, and also masculine of center black lesbian women, and it has been a hard-fought challenge. How can we empower specifically black masculine of center and trans men to get involved with the political process and to run for office?
Well, first off, hi, Carolyn. We follow each other on Instagram. Hey. Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to plug this. So there is NBJC, National Black Justice Coalition, and we have a Good Trouble Network, and this is a network that is kind of runs adjacent to Victory. We met last night, and there are black LGBTQ elected officials coalition. And so one of the things that I think of is when I understand why people may be hesitant to run. So I think you have to kind of start like level set and understand why people may be hesitant to run. Number two, make it a safe place where people are able to come and talk to you, though, which is I'm so grateful that we have the Good Trouble Network, because we can have people that get it, because I'm going to be honest and I'm going to say this. Sometimes our white LGBTQ brothers and sisters really don't get it as we show up as, and they don't get it sometimes, there's the intersections. Yeah, y'all can clap on that. And so sometimes you need a place and a space that for people that look like you and show up like you, so they can understand kind of, you're able to have that conversation. And then three, what are we doing in the position that we're in? So if I'm in a position where I can raise money, if I'm in a position that I have PAC money or I have those things, who am I giving to? Who am I empowering? I can't just give lip service to it. I have to give actual service to it. I have to make sure that I'm introducing them to the right people, connecting them to folks. And so for me, I actually have a personal mission of making sure that Black trans people are able to get elected throughout this country. I think what is happening with our trans brothers and sisters is the greatest civil rights issue of our time, because they are the most marginalized of us. So for me, is not just saying that, but actually putting action behind that and making sure that they are covered in this process.
We have additional participants with questions. So what I'm going to ask is, please ask your question to a particular panelist. And as you approach, I'm looking out to see if there's anyone who would like me to approach them. Okay, I'll be right out. Please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sydney Rash. I'm a pansexual woman from Arkansas, and I am the campaign manager for Josh Price over there running for Secretary of State of Arkansas. And I just had a question specifically for our Southern panelists here. Were you out when you first ran, and did you, could maybe y'all speak to your experiences as, whether, maybe the difference between running as an out candidate and not so. So, thanks.
I'll start out. I was out. I came out when I was about 18, and I first ran for office in 2016, and I was married, and we had our first son at the time, and now have a few more kids. So I've had that perspective. Don't know if anyone else wants to share.
I was out, and when people are like, what about your wife? And my wife has a joke, but she's very serious. She's too cute to be in anybody's closet, and so am I. So she's not going anywhere. She's very much here. And so if you weren't going to vote for me because of her, you just weren't going to vote for me. So I haven't had the experience of not being out, but yeah.
Thank you, panelists.
Hello, Carlton Smith from the state of Mississippi, Congressional candidate in 2018, State Senate candidate in 2019. Good to see everybody. I don't know specifically who this question is pointed to, but there's I had the possibility of people in my local party actively opposing my campaign from underneath. And I'm wondering if one of you would be willing to speak to how you managed that.
I'm happy to. Some of you may know I'm a DNC member. I've fought very hard. First out person to be on the DNC from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I was just with an event with Brian Sims in the district I'm running, right? And we were talking about how the party purposely, some people in the party, not the entire party, some people in the party were purposely trying to diminish the amount of LGBTQ people who should be delegates, right? The actual goals that they were set. These are goals to be set. This is the third cycle in a row that we had to go to them, and we had to say no and present evidence, and we took the fight to the people, right? We took the fight to the people, we blew it up, and we beat them consistently. We burned some bridges along the way, but in the end, I'm very hopeful come 2024, right? When those goals get made, they're going to make sure that we are accounted for in a way that they have not, because they've lost 3 times. So you just got to beat them and make sure that they're held accountable. I could go on, but I won't.
Thank you, Candidate Miller. Did you? Oh. So we have a question here.
Thank you. Sorry I cut the line. Henry Fernandez. I'm the state treasurer of the Indiana Democratic Party. And I hear something that has been heard on stage. I hear it many times. Wait your turn. Mm-hmm. And our party is full of, allies, but also very privileged people. Mm-hmm. And what have you done, or what have you said when people have said to you, wait your turn?
Panelists?
The first time I ran for office, I was a bit like a bull in a china shop because I didn't ask for permission from anybody. I just started doing it because I knew that if I had tried to tell people, and even though I was actively running, was constantly being told, let me tend you for an hour and a half while you shouldn't be running, as I was the front runner who had raised the most amount of money, knocked on the most amount of doors, and was set to win by 65% in my first race. So I think the biggest thing is you just have to show them by doing the work, but you also can't half-ass it. You can't jump into a race and say, I'm going to do this and prove them wrong, and then raise $10,000 when you're running for Congress. You can't barely do the job. If you're going to do it, you need to be committed to do it, because if there's one person who's willing to tell you to your face, don't do this, wait your turn, there are going to be plenty of other people that are just waiting for you to fail so they can say, see, we told you they shouldn't have run. So you need to be ready to go and work really hard to prove them wrong. And the proof is always in the pudding, because when you are able to show that you're successful, that you work hard, then you show them by winning that it wasn't you having to wait your turn.
I would totally echo that. I also think about our coalition building question here. Sometimes it feels a little harder to go back to these relationships and sit at the table together. And I think that's been an important piece of this too, about how we continue to build power for our community and other communities. Is we go out there, we run the best campaigns, we do win, and then we go back to the people who said we'd never win, and we figure out a way to work with them. And I think that's hard work to do sometimes, and sometimes feels more personal and more difficult than working with folks on the other side of whatever aisle you're on. But ultimately, I think is a key piece of how we disrupt in the right kind of ways systems that are broken.
I just want to quickly add, right, we've recently, I won't name names, we've recently seen an example of a traditional candidate being put forward over a non-traditional candidate, and it didn't turn out very well. People are looking for something that is different. People are upset. This system is broken. They want different voices. So I'd say, tell them, hey, this is a strength, right? This is actually a strength to be brought to these races. People are not looking for the same old thing. Things are broken enough, they say, if you're doing something different, I want that. I think we have to embrace that.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, my name is Tara Beasley Sansbury, and I'm a commissioner representing the city of Vallejo. And my question is to my sister here from Florida. When elected, I will be the second Black woman ever to be on council, and also the first out LGBT woman. And how do we create that safe space for others and welcome them to do the same thing? Because I noticed they're very shy. For it to be California, too.
Yeah, no, well, thank you, and congratulations, and you will win, yes. So, one, I think for me, creating a safe place, so my office is known as the place for, Black women, if they're lobbyists, staffers, or members, just to come and sit. So if they need to have a cry, if they need to have a yell, if they need to have whatever, and I could be doing work, and I'll be like, just sit down and whatever. I mean, I think you have to just do it. We can't say we're going to create a safe place. You have to do it. And then I think it goes back to being also in deed, not just doing it in a word, but doing it in deed, and making sure that when folks call you, you call them back. These are simple things, but we don't do them, right? Sometimes we get busy because life happens, right? But you call people back, you engage and you understand, but it's also understanding that this is less about you. I think a lot of times when folks get elected, they believe their own hype and they get caught up in their own news, and it's not about that. It's about service at its core. And so not only serving your constituents, but serving your brothers and sisters that are your colleagues and that are coming behind you or that are coming with you. It's about serving them and loving them and leading, I believe, out of love and out of service.
Thank you. Thank you. A big apology to our folks who have questions, but I look at it this way. You're right here. The panelists are right here, and you can ask your questions once we're finished. But we're on time, folks. And with that said, let's give a big round of applause to our panelists. Check out their digital media platforms. Support them. Let them know that you want to work with them. Thank you. Stand up. This could be the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th out member of the United States House of Representatives. Support them. Let them know that you're behind them. Thank you, everyone.
And let's give a big round of applause to our moderator, the great Cedric Lawson.
In coalition, we will win. Thank you, everyone.